Well, welcome everyone. I'm pleased to introduce Heidi Neely from the Alzheimer's Association. Heidi, you're here in the Madison office. That's correct?
Oh,
Yeah. I met Heidi through another friend who works on our triad committee, helping us arrange these programs. And we're so fortunate that she's willing to do a presentation for us. By the way, if you have speakers that you would like to see give a program here, Triad is oriented towards safety awareness for seniors, right? And if you know of a speaker who would be uh, a great addition to our presentations, please send me an email. Okay, everyone should have my email there if I sent you the link. Okay. Well, Heidi, I'm going to turn it over to you. Please tell us just a little bit about yourself, how you got interested in working with Alzheimer's, and then launch into your presentation, please.
great. I'm excited to be here today. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So I am in the Madison office, and I cover about the western half of Wisconsin in care and support for those families in any type of dementia journey. Our name is actually Alzheimer's and Related Disorders Association. So my journey actually is the related disorders part of this. About 8 years ago, we were at a family reunion in Yellowstone, and it was my husband's side of the family, the Neely side, and all five of the siblings were there and the spouses. And the oldest brother, Scott, said, "Hey, siblings, we need a family meeting." And so we all sat down at the big long game table, all 10 of us. And he proceeds to tell us the story of how the last couple of years, his wife, Janine, had been just acting weird and making mistakes and whatever. And he says, "You need to go see a counselor, Janine." And she's like, "Fine." After he was on her case, "Fine, I'll go see. Who do you want me to see?" So she went to a male counselor that my brother-in-law had picked out. And she went about 3 or 4 times, and the counselor's like, "Janine, you're fine. I'm not sure what Scott is saying, seeing in you. Is he a narcissist?" And she's like, "No, not at all. He's a wonderful man. All the Neely boys, there's five of them, all of them are just gentlemen, kind, sweet, wonderful men." And he's just like, "Well, let's bring Scott and talk to him." Well, within a few minutes of this, he's just like, "Scott, you need to see a neurologist." Well, 5 years earlier in 2013, my father-in-law had passed away. He had slipped in the shower, hit his head, had a massive brain bleed. They did surgery, and after that, the dementia symptoms came in just really heavily, and then it turned into the wandering and behavior changes and so much. And he ended up passing in 2013 is when he passed from this. So Scott ended up going to the same neurologist in California. Well, the neurologist within 5 minutes said, "Scott, you probably have Huntington's just like your dad did." And Scott's like, "Huntington, what? What are you talking about? My dad had a brain bleed. He slipped and hit his head." He's like, "No, your dad had what's called Huntington's disease." If any of you know of it, it is a protein in your brain. All of us get it from mom and dad. And for some reason, this protein, it's this chain, and it says CAG, CAG, CAG. It's this allele repeat chain. And for all of us, it's, in the teens and the low 20s, like maybe 15, 16, 17 repeats. But for some reason in Huntington's disease, this chain keeps growing. And once it starts it's called mutating. And so once it starts mutating, you can become a carrier. And every generation, this chain gets longer. And once this chain gets past 39 repeats, you will have Huntington's. The longer the chain, the earlier Huntington starts, the symptoms will start, and the earlier you will die. And for example, if this chain jumps to like 60s, 70s, you'll have an early onset or a younger onset. And like you could be 6 years old and be gone by 8 or 9 years old. So this Huntington protein, it's genetic, whether they pass on the mutated or the not mutated gene. And so the neurologist is like, "Scott, you need to be tested for dementia." Dementia, when you try to figure out, well, what's causing your dementia, it's tests and scans and so much. But for Huntington's, it's a blood test. They just draw your blood and they count how many proteins are on the fourth chromosome. So Scott did the blood test and he was a 42 repeat, which means he's over 39. That's been the issues that Scott was having. So Scott told us a story while we're sitting at the table in Yellowstone. My husband at the time was 55, doing very well, product developer, designing products, working with clients, doing well. And we also had a son, Austin, who was getting married in 2 months. And we're like, wow, well, we better tell our kids what's a possibility. My husband Brian's doing really well. I'm sure he'll test negative. If he's negative, our kids are at no risk. It's not passed on. If he's positive, then our kids are all 50-50 chance of getting the mutated as well. So my husband and a few months later ended up taking the test and it came back at a 41. It's like, no. So gene carrier. So then our son, the fiance, Caitlin, bless her soul, she's like, I don't care if you test positive or not, I still want to marry you. So they got married. And then about 3, 4 months later, Austin, our son, was tested and he came back at a 43 repeat. We have 2 other children who have not tested. Um, they just want to live life normal right now while they're dating and finding, relationships, and eventually will be tested before that becomes serious. But then meanwhile, Scott's family, 3 of the 4 of his kids tested positive. So within a year, we had 6 of the 7 who tested positive. So all of a sudden, dementia was my realm of what I was surrounded by. I knew nothing of dementia. My mom has MS, dad has diabetes, grandparents died of cancers. That's what I knew. I knew nothing about dementia. Well, within a year, my husband had to quit his job. He no longer could process as well as he needed to. The cognition was being affected. And with Huntington's, it looks like Alzheimer's in somewhat with the cognition issues, but then it also looks like Parkinson's, but instead of shakes, it's grand mal movements. It actually kind of looks like you're drunk because of the loss of balance, the inability to hold your head still or eat, hold your head still to eat, etc. And then it also affects your personality to where you can become extremely physically abusive and as well as emotionally abusive. And then you actually die from ALS. So Huntington's is a very severe, it's called the devil's disease. And so I'm like, I need to learn everything I can. And so my husband having to quit his job, I ended up quitting my job because I did worked with seniors and stuff in organizing, downsizing, and design, etc., without insurance and the benefits. So I had to become the benefit winner. Ended up getting a job at UW-Madison in the neuroscience training program. So excited. I worked for years with the PhD students who were in neuro research development. And then this job at the association came up where I got to teach and be with the families in the journey and support them. I'm like, perfect job for me. I also was an educator, K through 12 teacher. So that is the long story short of how I got with the association. I needed to learn everything I could to be a caregiver of dementia. And then with all my extended family getting also diagnosed, it's like I need to support my family. And then I thought, well, let's just support all of Wisconsin. So that is what I love to do. And I'm excited to share today a lot of just the basics of what is Alzheimer's, what is dementia, how are they the same, how are they different, what is the research being done, what are the resources that are available. I highly recommend that you share this with anybody that you know. Our resources are for all dementias, as I mentioned, whether it's Lewy body, frontotemporal, any of those, and they are always at no cost. Just want to put that out there. So please share far and wide. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. So the Alzheimer's Association, we lead the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating global research. We actually are in 56 countries right now doing research. We have over $450 million active in those 56 countries in over 1,200 research projects. We are putting our dollars out with the greatest minds in the world and connecting them at conferences every year as well. Because we need to find better treatments, but we need to find the cures for the different types of dementia. We also talk heavily about risk reduction, and we'll talk about that today because what better than let's reduce the risk of it, let's slow down the progression. And also we talk about early detection and why that's so critical in the disease, and then maximizing quality care and support. And that's my role, is that care and support that I love to do so much. If you've seen that symbol, for Alzheimer's, it's a human head and a beaker because it emphasizes that people and science are behind our cause. I want you to look at these facts. These are new facts. They are shocking, um, and they're sad. Over 7.2 million now Americans are living with Alzheimer's. The middle orange one just shocks me every time. Between the year 2000 and 2022, deaths from heart disease decreased by 2.1%. Phenomenal. Super good win for heart disease. But deaths from Alzheimer's increased by 142 in that same 22 years. So it's just showing how out of control this is. Right above that, 1 in 3 seniors die from Alzheimer's or dementia. That's 85 years old. Some figures out there are saying that deaths could triple by 2050 to that. And also 85, the year of that, of dying at 85, it's getting younger and younger. They're saying more 1 in 3 adults age 65 and older, maybe by 2050. Depends who you listen to. Um, but, and also the top right corner, it kills more than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined. So dementia, Alzheimer's is absolutely out of control. If you kind of look at those other numbers, it's talking about the costs and the caregivers. Bottom center, nearly 12 million Americans provide unpaid care for people with Alzheimer's. That's me, that's in my realm. And these caregivers provide more than 19 billion hours, valued at $413 billion a year. If you go diagonally up to the right, in 2025, Alzheimer's and dementias cost the nation $384 billion. And by 2050, it'll be nearly $1 trillion a year. So Alzheimer's does not affect us all equally. If you look at the center at the right, the lifetime risk for Alzheimer's at age 45, 1 in 5 for women, 1 in 10 for men. By the time you do get dementia, 2/3 of those with dementia are women. So we are at higher risk. Also, it's not a fair disease by any stretch. Black Americans are twice as likely to get Alzheimer's. Our tribal, Hispanic, our Asian populations, they're 1.5 times more likely to get Alzheimer's. Why? We don't know. It's in the research, and that's why it is so incredibly important to do this research. At the bottom, 1 in 5 Americans feel optimistic about new treatments. And we're going to talk briefly about that today. And 92% of Americans would want a medication to slow the progression. I'm surprised that's not 100%. But still, 92%, that's phenomenal. So, not so. Um, so when we talk about dementia, people think dementia, Alzheimer's, how are they the same? How are they different? Well, dementia is symptoms. It's an umbrella term. It is related to cognitive symptoms. It's related to, sorry, my phone is ringing if you can hear that. It's related to cognitive behavior, psychological symptoms, and they're just symptoms. So if you have dementia, it's like, well, what causes the dementia? What causes the symptoms? Well, Alzheimer's is the highest disease that causes it. 60 to 80% of all dementia is caused by Alzheimer's, followed by vascular dementia, Lewy body, frontotemporal, others like Huntington's. But you can also get what's called a mixed dementia. That is where you may have Alzheimer's and Lewy body, Alzheimer's and frontotemporal. Those can make it really hard to diagnose with doctors. And that's where, when we talk about the different diseases, it's really important to find out what you're dealing with so that you can find out what treatments are best for you. Now, when we talk specifically about Alzheimer's, we're talking about two proteins in the brain. So Huntington's was the one Huntington protein. Well, with Alzheimer's, there's two proteins. The first one, and I want you to really remember this one, it's called beta amyloid. This beta amyloid creates plaques in the brain. If you have seen pictures of the brain and they kind of look like electric tree branches and they're, bright and shiny, those are the neuron branches. And that's where a memory, a thought is coming down that chain of neurons and saying, hey, I need to go to the store and get some bread, some milks, and some and somebody may pause and it's like rewire around the neurons and like, oh yeah, and some cheese. So what's happening is this beta amyloid makes plaques on the outside of the neurons, and it's getting the way in the connection of that thought, of that emotion, of that memory. And it's that beta amyloid plaques that's getting in the way. Well, the other protein is called tau. This protein is inside the neurons and it is causing havoc on the communication within the neuron. So between these two proteins, the beta amyloid on the outside and the tau on the inside, we can see why there's so much issues with Alzheimer's, and they both cause cell death. So in the picture number 3, you see the healthy brain, and then the Alzheimer's. Due to these proteins, it's causing cell death. The brain is actually shrinking, and it is causing those empty spaces in the dark holes when you see scans of it. That is cell death. And so when somebody is experiencing symptoms, it's because that part of the brain is no longer working and may not be there. And when you have somebody that has symptoms, you have to treat the person with respect, with kindness, with love, because they are doing the absolute best that they can. If they're repeating the question over and over, like my husband does, to me, it's just like, you know what? It's Huntington's. It's not my husband. We have to treat these people with kindness because they're not doing this on purpose. It is this brain that is not working appropriately for them. And we got to love them even more for that. So when we are talking about dementia, we talk of it as a continuum. So in this graphic, this first step, the asymptomatic, this is no symptoms, but these biological changes, that cell death we just talked about, may be occurring in the brain up to 20, and some people are even saying up to 30 years before the symptoms even start. So when we talk about, hey, you need to get in and get an early detection, we are already a decade or more behind the changes that have already been going. So when you are starting to get symptoms that are affecting your daily activities of life, so whether it is the being able to speak or remembering where you put things and not being able to trace it back, like, oh, that's right, that's why the keys are in the fridge. If you're unable to trace it back, that's a big key of it's starting to really affect your daily activities of life. When you want to see the doctor, get in early, talk to him about your symptoms, be writing them down on a journal, because when you get to the doctor's office, you always forget. It's like, oh, I don't remember. So write the things that you're seeing. If you need to have a conversation with somebody that you're seeing symptoms, the association has wonderful forms and fill in the blanks where you could say, hey, I need to have help with the conversation with somebody I see some symptoms in. We can help you with the conversation. Or if you see it in yourself, give us a call. We'll show you resources coming up of what to do, but we can give you resources to help when you're just like, I don't know what to do. We can help you. So once the symptoms are there, it's called mild cognitive impairment. It's any type of dementia. All of them have mild cognitive impairment. It's where it starts. Well, what is causing that mild cognitive impairment, or what is causing those symptoms? Well, in this graph, it's due to the Alzheimer's disease. For me, it was due to Huntington's disease. So in here, Alzheimer's, we have it broken up into just 3 basic levels: mild, moderate, and severe, depending on how much it's interfering with your daily activities. So I do want to highlight that, as I talked about, early detection and diagnosis is absolutely vital. We all deserve a life with the healthiest brain possible, and we need to take action to protect our brains. So going in and talking with a doctor about it is key. Early detection is important. So pay attention to memory changes, thinking, behaviors that you notice in yourself. Like for my brother-in-law, it was behavior that started. It wasn't the memory and thinking, it was his behaviors that he was being more erratic. My husband, he lost his sense of smell, which is odd. But so anything different, get the journal, start taking notes. I highly, highly recommend it. Put your date on it. Ask other people if they're noticing it as well. So there are treatments that can change disease progression, which is a huge win. We'll talk about it in a minute, and drugs and non-drug options that may help treatments. So talk to your doctors to learn more about what treatment options are available. And that's why it's also important to find out which type of disease you are working with. So when we talk about going into a doctor's and getting diagnosed, I just wanted to briefly tell you what they'll do. So we kind of look at it as in these four different pieces. So there's no single test that determines if a person has Alzheimer's or not. You may have heard of the blood test, and we're so excited. It's one tool. It's a phenomenal tool. And we will get into that. But first, they'll do the physical exam. Of course, they'll take your blood pressure, your cholesterol. They'll find out what other health issues you may have. Because in that mild cognitive state where you're just right at the early stages, that may be not caused by dementia or a disease causing dementia. That may be caused by medication mismanagement. It could be caused by high blood pressure, thyroid, sleep issues. There's many reasons why you may be having dementia symptoms. So that is why you get into the doctor early so you can rule those out. You can change the medication. My mother-in-law had cancer and we were taking care of her. And we noticed she was repeating herself. Her forgetfulness was incredible. I'm like, oh no, not Alzheimer's on top of cancer. It was just straight old medication mismanagement. We ended up finding she was pouring all her medications in one dish and just taking, like, oh yeah, I forgot the blue one. I'll take two tomorrow or two today. It's like, no, you can't do that. So you need to go to the doctor to rule out what may be causing the dementia symptoms. They also do biomarkers, imaging, and fluid analysis, as well as the neurological exams and cognitive tests. And so I wanted to point out here, when you go, if you're 65 and older, you are always supposed to have at least a short little cognitive test at your annual physical. So highly, highly make sure your doctor does that. With more, and at these tests, they may say, okay, I want you to draw a clock and I want you to put the numbers on it and now put 2:30. And we're thinking, okay, whatever. Well, if you think about it, draw a clock. Well, that's a circle. And so what are they looking for? Well, is the circle flat? Does it look more like a triangle? How is their dexterity or their motor skills on drawing this? Can they close the circle? Does it, so just drawing a circle can tell you a lot about maybe possibly what part of your brain may be affected. Then add the numbers on the clock. Can they do 1 through 12 in order? And are they spaced appropriately? Because those also can be signs of a certain type of a disease causing dementia. And then also, can they do 2:30? So does this person still remember how to tell time? Can they tell the difference between a short and a long hand? So just even drawing a time on a clock can really show the doctors what may be happening in your brain. So take these things seriously, especially the one start at 100 and count backwards by 7. So when you think of that, start at 100 and you have to put a placeholder and then you have to do the subtraction. Okay, placeholder, subtraction, new placeholder, go back, let go of that one, new here, do another subtraction, new placeholder. I mean, it is really showing a lot of different parts of your brain and what may be or may not be affected. So these are really important tests. Now, I want to talk more about these biomarkers. They're very fascinating. So first off, in the orange, what is a biomarker? Well, it's a predictor and an indicator of disease and disease progression. For example, glucose. It's a biomarker. So bio or body, it marks for insulin resistance in diabetes. Cholesterol is a biomarker for heart disease. So we use these biomarkers for diagnostics, of course, enrichment. Can they be a part of a clinical trial or not? Prognostic. So we determine the course of the illness, and the predictive, well, we need to track outcomes and possible effects of treatments. So look in the purple side. Here is a biomarker that measures change. It's a PET scan. It's an imaging biomarker. And you can see the AD, which means Alzheimer's disease, and then the cognitive healthy brain scan. The PET scan is the scan or biomarker imaging that can show those two proteins that we talked about, the beta amyloid and that tau that's on the inside and outside of the neurons. So a PET scan is excellent for determining if they do not have Alzheimer's or yes, they do. So it's a great tool for determination. Other biomarkers at the top in the imaging, so we just talked about the PET in the green. Well, what about an MRI? MRIs are great. They're more for structure. So they use it to rule out other things, as well as they use it to track side effects of treatments. Um, it can help show if there's brain shrinkage, if there's holes, etc. So MRIs are great for that. If you slide over to the fluid biomarkers, so that's the purple. Cerebral spinal fluid, that's the fluid that goes from your spine and all around your brain. That is excellent of showing what's in and around the brain. So this one actually can detect the amyloid, what that protein is on the outside of the neuron through this cerebral spinal fluid. It also is used for many other diseases like Huntington's disease. You use that also to test the quantity of Huntington protein in the brain. Well, what about that blood test that we've heard about? It's like, oh, I want to find out if I have it or I don't have Alzheimer's. Well, this blood test, we've had it for many, many years already. It's now just FDA approved more on a personal level at the doctor's office if you're showing symptoms. But the key is it doesn't tell you if you have Alzheimer's or not. What it does tell you is if you have the beta amyloid or the outside of the neuron protein. That's what it shows is if you have it or not. So it's a fabulous diagnostic tool that they use alongside of the other tests that I showed you, whether it's the PET scans or the clock test, the cognitive tests. So it's a fabulous tool to use. Well, what about the emerging markers that we are using? So wouldn't it be great if we could just go into a doctor's office and they would just look at our skin and do a saliva test and they could test the biological changes in the brain? Well, what about a retinal scanning? I know with the diabetes in my families, I go to the eye doctor every year and I get the diabetic scans to show if there's changes or if there's bleeding, et cetera, in the back of my eye. Well, it would be great if we could do this for Alzheimer's or other dementia. Well, it's in the research, which is really, really exciting. So keep an eye out for things like that because it'd be a lot cheaper, non-invasive. We could get it out to everyone in the world if this is something that they have to be aware of. It's all in the research. So treatment, where are we at right now? Well, back in 1906, over 100 years ago, Alzheimer's was first described by Dr. Alois Alzheimer's with a woman that he had met. And it took, if you can see on this chart, till 1996 for the first treatment or first drug to help with anything to do with Alzheimer's. And those first five all have to do, if you can see on this, the continuum on the right side, they all are in orange and they work when you are already on the dementia journey. You already are in the mild, moderate, or severe stage. They are very needed. They're help with agitation, frustrations, different symptoms that you may have. Very important. Going on down the line in 2020, we got Belsomra, and there's a little asterisk by that. It also helps when the symptoms are there in mild and moderate. That helps with sleep. You may have heard of Belsomra before, and it has a little asterisk because this is part of the drugs that were already approved for some other issues. It had already gone through the decades of research, all the way from preclinicals, all the way through phase 1, 2, and 3, FDA approval. And we said, hey, what about using this Belsomra sleep medication for those with Alzheimer's? So we took it and we tested it, and it worked really well for a lot of people in mild and moderate stages. And so 28% of the research of the drugs that we have are repurposed that have already been FDA approved. So we don't have to spend the decades and the millions, multi-millions of dollars in research. Is we now can say, hey, maybe we can also use this for these other types of dementia. So that's what Belsomra was. Now in 2023 and 2024, the two purple, this huge excitement, as you can see in the continuum, It affects those in the MCI or the mild cognitive impairment stage. Those are the ones just starting the symptoms, very, very early stage. What is so exciting about this is it is showing that it is slowing down the progression of Alzheimer's, and it's just for Alzheimer's disease, but a humongous win. What this lecanemab or donanemab, or you may have heard the word Leqembi or Kisunla, these are all IV infusions. The Leqembi is every other week, and Kisunla is once a month. So you might ask, well, of course I would do the once a month IV to slow down progression of Alzheimer's, but it all completely depends on your body. It depends on your doctor because both of these have side effects, of course, like pretty much every other drug does. So your doctor has to take a look at you as a whole person and like, do you have heart issues? Do you have thyroid issues? What else are you already dealing with? If you're not dealing with any of them, maybe the one a month would do well for you. It just really depends on you. But this is also another reason, get checked early if you are showing symptoms, because these IV infusions are only for the early stage. You don't want to keep people in the moderate and severe stages longer. What these two IV drugs do is, again, they attack the beta amyloid protein only, the one that's on the outside of the neuron. So what they're doing is targets the beta amyloid, reduces the number of them in your brain, those plaques that block the connection and communication. Kisunla is getting to where it's pretty much non-existent after about 18 months. But the problem is that the tau is still there on the inside of the neuron. So this is a huge win. It's getting rid of one of the proteins, and it's also helping those stay in this MCI stage, when the early stage, 30 to 36% longer, which can add up to months, add up to years longer in the early stage. So it is a very huge win. And then, as you can see, we're still looking at other drugs, like we've got the Rexulti and Zunveila, that help with agitation and other symptoms, because we still need to do research to help those in the journey. Now, besides medication, aren't there things that we could do to help reduce risk ourselves? Absolutely. So, in most cases, Alzheimer's is the result of complex interactions across multiple factors. So, we have what's called modifiable factors and non-modifiable factors. So, non-modifiables, we can't do anything about it. Age, it is the number one risk factor. The older we get, the higher risk we are to get Alzheimer's. Genetics, like me, there's nothing we can do about that Huntington gene in our family. Family histories as well. We can't do anything about that. But what about the modifiable things that we can do to reduce risk of brain disease? There are behaviors we can do, and let's take a look at those. We have it broken down into 10 here. There are more than this, but these are the 10 main ones we look at. Now, I want to teach you one thing, and if it's the only thing you remember this. Every time your heart beats, 20 to 25% of your blood goes around your brain. Okay? Every heartbeat, 20 to 25% of your blood goes around your brain. So don't you think that what is in your blood is really, really important for your brain? So what do you think your brain really, really needs from your blood? Number one thing, oxygen. So your number one habit, healthy habit that you can do right now, starting today, is get moving. Start exercising, get the oxygen in your blood. When I look at this, I like to tell people and challenge them to do two things today. I want you to choose something you're going to start doing and something you're going to stop doing. So if you take a look at these 10 things, make two goals right now. You know what? Tonight, when I'm watching TV, every time there's a commercial, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go start running the stairs or walking up and down the stairs, or I'm going to do jumping jacks or sit-ups. I'm going to get off the couch and I'm going to get moving, just even walking around the kitchen while there's always those commercials on. So get moving. Park in the back of the parking lot so you get more steps. Stop taking the elevator, start taking the stairs. So that is something I'm going to start doing, is I'm going to start exercising during commercials. I'm going to stop taking the elevator. So be looking at these. So think about in your blood, what else is super important in your blood that bathes your brain? What about your nutrition? What did you just have for breakfast today? Cup of coffee and a bagel? Is there anything of value in that for your brain? Where's the healthy greens, the proteins, the vitamins, the minerals? No wonder you're so tired after you eat, because there's nothing left to feed your brain or help you focus, help you concentrate. So eating right is absolutely crucial. We have what's called the MIND diet, MIND. It's a combination of the DASH diet, which is to stop hypertension that Western medicine has created, and then the Mediterranean diet, which is a lifestyle of eating healthy. Put them together, we got the MIND diet. Check it out on Google. It's phenomenal. It's the healthy fats, the omegas, the fish, the avocado, the olive oil, the healthy fats with the lean meats, with the green vegetables and the berries. Berries are huge, not the citrus, high in sugar, but the berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries. The berries are what you need to stick to with the fruits. And then all the darker green vegetables and the color of the vegetables, like the greens, the reds, etc. That's where we all need to be eating. So the third thing is that's so incredibly important for your brain is staying in school, um, challenging your mind. And it's not just, oh, I'm doing a puzzle. It's take a 50-piece puzzle and time yourself. Can I do it faster and faster? It's challenging. It's strategy. It's playing against a partner where you have to like, oh, if they do this, I have to do this. Because you can create new neurons in your brain. Not all of your brain, but you can create new neurons. Take a class on your phone of Duolingo, learn a new language. Take a class at the community college. Challenge your mind. Stay in school. So incredibly important. Also on here, sleep well, and then manage your numbers, blood pressure, weight, your sugar numbers. All of those are absolutely important. So make sure you get them under control because they can all play a part in your risk of getting diabetes. And then, of course, the smoke free. What is really incredible about our bodies is they're miracles. If you have been smoking your whole entire life and you stop now, and maybe that's your goal, I'm going to stop smoking. Um, Once it has detoxed out of your body, you can reduce your risk of dementia all the way back to a non-smoker. So none of these things are too late to start. Start them now. Challenge you again. Start doing something and stop doing something. Okay. Now, currently, these 10 have the strongest levels of evidence that we have studied. There are other risks to brain health, but the current body of science is lower, it's unclear. But the research we're exploring, the hearing, the vision loss, stress, air pollution, it's all in the research. So if you want to learn more, you could go to our website here at alz.org/healthy habits. I want to show you one of the research that we just got the results from that's so exciting. It's called the US Pointer Study. This was a 2-year study that we just got the results in July. They took 2,000 people that were over 60 years old, and all of them were at risk for Alzheimer's. They had done, whether it's the blood tests that show, yep, you have that beta amyloid, or their parents or siblings have it, so it's in the family, so they're at a higher risk. So all of them were at higher risk. All of them over 60 to 79 years old. And what they did is they broke these 2,000 people into 2 groups. And we focused on 3 of the major health habits. So health, if you look at the bottom, it's that nutrition. They did the MIND diet, cognitive exercises, so that staying in school, learning, and physical exercises. So they focused on those 3 things. The difference was the health monitoring. One of the groups had a health coach, the other ones were self-monitored. After the 2 years in this study, those who were really on target, really followed through, their brains show that they tested 1 to 2 years younger than those who didn't do it. So we have scientific proof that physical exercise, cognitive exercise, eating right absolutely can slow down and reduce your risk for dementia. So incredibly important. And I want to throw this out there. If you are in Madison or can come to Madison during the month of December, the governor's residence, they have their house open to the public for holiday tours. And every room on the main level as a nonprofit has decorated it. And this is the 4th year that I've been invited to decorate the largest room, the drawing room, in dementia. the First Lady, Kathy Evers, dementia is one of her biggest focuses. And so this year, I chose the theme of the US Pointer Study and the 10 healthy habits to decorate the drawing room. So if you want to learn more about these, we have 7 different trees decorated in the different 10 healthy habits and more information. So you can sign up online. I think it's Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. You can go, and it's free as well. So come do that for the holidays. It's really fun. All right. So now the resources. I have Alzheimer's, or my loved one does, or I have any other form of dementia. What do I do? So the association has a ton of resources, and again, they are all at no cost. The first one is that helpline, and these I'm going to go into a lot of these in more detail. But that helpline, I tell people to put that 800-272-3900 on your cell phone and star it, because you never know when you can share it or need it. You can literally call it at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're just frustrated. It's like, I don't know what to do. Or I'm really worried about my loved one. I'm worried about myself. Is this normal part of aging, or could this maybe indeed be dementia? Then over in the local resources, we're the Wisconsin chapter, and you can go on our website and find more information about support groups, other classes that are going on. We have here Alzheimer's Association and the AARP. We've joined together for the Community Resource Finder. And what that is, it's kind of like an online yellow pages. And it's where businesses can come in and list their business. They're in charge of their posting, and they can say, hey, we are a long-term facility, and this is our facility. Here's pictures of it. Here's our calendar of activities. Here's our pricing. They can put whatever they want. Also, you can go on and find some more support groups. You can find in-person and virtual classes. You can find senior help. So it's a really great resources. Now at the bottom left, we have our website, alz.org. You can go on, it could be overwhelming because you could be on there for 2 weeks and not be on the same page. So much information. But if you want something specific, /care, /safety, /driving, there's some great videos, great resources. I'm going to share a little bit more about ALZConnected and ALZNavigator, which both are phenomenal tools for those who are on the dementia journey or in the early stages. And then, of course, the education programs. If you cannot attend one in person, we have ones that are already on demand. You could go to alz.org/education. I also do a virtual education series, and I have on our Wisconsin page, alz.org/WI. You can just go straight to our Wisconsin page. And under the education, I have over 30 presentations from guest speakers and other programs that we've done. So there's a lot that you can get, even if you can't go in person. They're already videoed for you and recorded. So I've already talked about these, forgot the special little arrows. But I wanted to show you an overview of that helpline again. 365 days a year, and it also is in 200 languages. So if you need help with that, we can get help with translation. And I also wanted to point out, we have master specialists, master level clinicians that say, you're here, mom's in California, your brother's in Texas, and you're all worried about your dad. You can set up for an hour online or on the phone, a consultation, a care consultation, and it's free, of course. And you can all get on and say, hey, we're worried about our dad. Here's what the doctor said, or we can't get him to a doctor. And they can help talk you through and navigate through the steps of what to do next. Or even if you're in the middle of your journey and we need help finding a location to take them, we can do that as well. Great resource. Here's a look at that community resource finder with AARP. So you could go down here and look for programs, care at home, services, housing, medical services. So again, a phenomenal resource. Okay, this is the next two are if you're on the journey. ALZConnected It is an online chat group, really. It's broken into two rooms, and on the right side, you have the caregiver forum room, or I have Alzheimer's room. And you can log in and you read, and you don't even have to log in. You can just go and read and read and read about what people have asked questions about and people have answered about. But you can log in and ask your own questions too if you want to. So my husband could go on, I have Alzheimer's or dementia, and he could ask whatever he wants and just hear from other people who are in the same situation as him. Or I'm a caregiver and I don't know what to do about X, Y, or Z, and hear from other people. It's a phenomenal tool. This Alzheimer's Navigator, it's also divided into two groups. The I have Alzheimer's or I'm a caregiver, but you go by topic. What do you want to know? So you choose the topic, like for your group, I want to learn more about safety, or I want to learn how to get him to stop driving or legal planning, etc. And then it takes you down more questions, and it will navigate you to more help. So at the end of answering those questions, you'll have a page of more links or videos or just more information to help you with your questions. And then you can clear it out and do it again on a different topic. So it navigates you in your journey, personalizing it for you. I wanted to show you, this is our specific Wisconsin site. So if you go to alz.org and then /WI for Wisconsin, on the left side, here's all that we have. This is the education resources that I have highlighted here, and you could look at the upcoming programs, early stage and on-demand virtual programs. And this is where I was telling you about all the guest speakers and different topics over 30 that I already have recorded on that on-demand virtual programs. But you can also say, hey, what else? What are the programs coming up in Madison or Dane County or whatever part of Wisconsin you're in, as well as early stage social programs. And you could find right above the education resources on the left, you can find the dementia support groups. We have over 70 in the state, and they're in person. We also have 5 that are virtual and lots of different topics. So for example, you could have a class or a support group for your loved ones already living in a facility, or I have early stage Alzheimer's or dementia, and I need to talk with other people. And we have some that are just male caregiver groups. So we have one here in Stoughton, actually. It's a new one that I started with Rachel. Both of us have husbands with younger onset dementia, and it's in Stoughton every first Wednesday. If you know somebody who is under 65, it's the younger onset of dementia. And so it's a special support group for those. So lots of resources on our Wisconsin. Just again, alz.org /WI for Wisconsin. Now this next resource, phenomenal, just came out in June. It is a phone app. Again, it's free to everyone. It's called My ALZ Journey, but again, anybody with any type of dementia can use this. It is specifically for those you just went to the doctors, the neurologist, the gerontologist, and they just gave you the gut punch. You have Alzheimer's, you have Huntington's, you have vascular dementia, and they give you a big stack of papers and say, good luck, we'll see you in a year. And you're like, what in the heck do I do now? Just like what we did. Well, what you do is you put this app on your phone and you put your information in and it personalizes. You put your zip code in so you could find local resources for you. When I first went on it, I'm like, oh, how helpful can this really be? But it takes you exactly step by step of what to do. And even if you're on the early stages of Alzheimer's, this is still phenomenal for you. It has videos in there as it steps you step by step through it. It helps you understand your diagnosis, helps you stay independent, helps you plan for the future. So please share this throughout. If you know anybody in the early stage or just got diagnosed and they don't know what to do, My ALZ Journey is a phenomenal app, and they just download it on your app store. Now, I wanted to get to also show you what we do, not only for families, we also support professional caregivers. This is a very important area in Wisconsin. One of the things that I didn't know, but when it comes time that I'll need to put my husband in a memory care, here in Wisconsin, those that work in the memory care, there's no regulation of if they're trained in dementia or not. They could have a cook come and work in the memory care unit. So we as an association, we have another lever, like I'm in the care and support lever. We have our development. Well, we have an advocacy lever. And it's those who really want to say, hey, government, we need to make some changes here. come and join us. Anybody can come. We do this in February and March. We have Advocacy Day. And last year we had about 200 people like you. We came to the Capitol. We sat by our zip code and we went over 3 key asks. Every year we do 3. And then what you do is with your table, you go and talk to your senators, you talk to the representatives and say, hey, did you know that the memory care units, they're not trained? We need to make a difference. Well, that was the ask this year, and they are making changes. We asked that there would be a minimum of 8 hours of onboarding of training, and then every year after 4 to 5 hours. So with our advocacy, we're making huge changes. In fact, we do that in every single state, and then we also take over 1,000 advocacy volunteers to Washington, D.C. and talk there at the higher level with the senators, the representatives, and also the NIH. And in the last 10 years, since 2014, we had funding for research at $536 million a year. $536 million, a ton of money. Not really. 10 years later, we are at $3.9 billion now from the work that we have done through our advocates coming to Washington, D.C., telling their stories, saying we need to find answers to this now because it is getting out of control. So we really also focus on finding help and changing rules and getting more help for families on the journey. Well, this ALZ, it's a professional training. And it is for here in Wisconsin, if you know anyone or are the work in the professional setting, you can scan this code. It's a 3-hour training and it's phenomenal. There's these 5 different areas, behaviors, communications, etc., person-centered learning. And normally this training is $60, but we have a grant. And for Wisconsin right now, if you get in before they're gone, you can take this training for free if you're in that long-term care or nursing or CPA, et cetera, and work in dementia. You can take this training for free as long as we still have openings. So please let people know. It's called Essentials. A little bit about it. It's the 3-hour, it's self-paced, it's just online, and we do it the practical comprehensive training based on the dementia care practice recommendations. And individuals can also receive CE credits from it. And again, here it is. We do have it available in Spanish, and then you can just scan that QR code to register for the free training if you'd like to. And then there is this one last training that is phenomenal, just came out this summer. It's called ALZ Pro. We not only need to help families and caregivers, we need to help the professionals. More and more people are getting diagnosed, and it's getting more and more heavy on just our normal primary care physicians. It's not what they're trained in. We, in the brain disease realm, we need to go see a geriatricians, neurologists, neuropsychologists, those who are trained in the brain. But there's so many people being diagnosed, is more and more is getting on nurses, on our primary cares. Well, we wanted a place for these professionals to go, and we have it. This ALZ Pro, we have, it's an area where you can go, you can find information on risk reduction, promote the brain health, early detection, as well as the diagnostics and detection. So accurately diagnosis, what does it look like in the clinic? And then treatment, about therapies, what about decision making, what about navigating them through the journey, and then care planning. We need it to be personalized. It's just not a one fit all. We need to support the people living with dementia. So we do all of those levels for the professionals. They can all come onto this website, to this Pro Hub. And this is where they can have access to the research, to the publications, to our grants. There's training, there's education, there's a huge 12-hour in-depth training called Navigator that they can get trained on. They have access to connect with each other throughout the nation and talk about symptoms and conferences and events. And there's so much. And again, it is a free tool for professionals. But I just wanted to circle this back. If anything of the resources, I want you to remember our 24/7 helpline. It is always free, supporting everybody on the journey, or just you have a question about it, or I need a care consultation. So put that on your phone. Of course, we have our education. We have our support groups. So if you're in the journey, we are here to support you. And then this last one I wanted to share with you is called Trial Match, trialmatch.org. Research is incredible. Like I said, we're in 56 countries. We have $450 million in research, over 1,200 projects right now. But the problem is for research, number one problem that we found out when we were diagnosed and started looking into trials is they don't have enough people. They're not populated. And if you do not have a trial populated with as many participants in it, you can't run the trial. It can't finish. You have to have certain groups against and matches and you have to have enough people. We are right now in the nation with just in our trial match, we need over 70,000 individuals to populate our current 940 trials that we're doing in Alzheimer's and disease research. And one of the things I just wanted to let you know is that it's not all the heavy duty blood test scan trials. I'm in a trial. I'm in a caregiver trial. Every year I do an 8-page questionnaire about being a caregiver. My husband's in a trial. It's every year. And it is it's symptoms. So he has pages to answer. They take his blood test, they do blood pressure, they take his weight. So they're just kind of monitoring his symptoms. That's it. But my brother-in-law was in a major one. Is 24 months, and every other month he went in for a lumbar puncture and 3 days of extensive testing with a medication that they injected to attach to that Huntington protein. So there are those type of trials, but with Trial Match, it is one that is kind of like a dating online service where it will match you. You could say, I have a healthy brain, I'm a caregiver, I'm living with a dementia, and then it can take you, say, I want virtual, I want in person, and line you up with trials in your area. So take a look at trialmatch.org as well. But that wraps it up for my presentation. Thank you so much for having me today. It was an absolute pleasure to join you.
Well, Heidi, there are a couple of I see 3 questions in the chat. Would you be able to take a look at that
Absolutely.
and answer those?
Yeah, let me get to those.
Mhm.
Okay, what is being done to change the organization of the medical system to speed up the diagnostic process? 3 years after I could see the changes in my husband, we have a diagnosis of MCI due to Alzheimer's, but are still testing to see if he qualifies for the most recent drugs. His primary care provider could or should have ordered the B12 sleep apnea hearing test to rule out or deal with reversible conditions while we waited for a neurological workup. The wait times for each appointment are excruciating. Absolutely. Okay. So, what is being done to change the organization of the medical system to speed up? That is the answer of all. Wisconsin, we don't have enough neurologists. We don't have enough doctors at that level. People are six months short to 18 months out to get doctor's appointments. It is excruciatingly painful to wait for. We need more people, period. We as an association have that ALZPro to try to help teach and get more tools out to doctors as well as the specialists. But unfortunately, we just do not have enough people in that area. We work closely with health systems and to one of the key things that we have, well, we have quite a few things we do with the health systems, but one of them is we have one to where it's kind of just like a pad of paper for a prescription. And if you're newly diagnosed, the doctor should ask like, hey, you're newly diagnosed with whichever dementia you have, can the Alzheimer's Association reach out to you? And if you say yes, he'll just fill the information. They'll fax it over to the association and we will reach out to you to help you start through the journey step by step, get you on support. So at least you're not alone floundering. I wish we would have had that for years. We had nothing until I got to the association a few years ago. I'm like, oh my goodness, I wish I would have known about these resources. But unfortunately, there's the changes is we just need more doctors in that realm. So, but yes, my heart aches for you. I'm sorry. Does exercise just reduce risk or does it also slow symptom development? Um, both. It does both. It gets the oxygen to the brain is stronger and it's healthier. So, and also when you think about it, exercise and the food eating, all of these also reduce high blood pressure, hypertension, cholesterol. They also help so many other areas. Is small vessel disease, which I was diagnosed with this morning, especially in the frontal lobes, an early stage of dementia, or am I not there yet? I see the neurologist Friday. So you'll have to wait for Friday. I do not know that answer. I've talked to one person, actually one other person with a small vessel disease. I don't know what the outcome was with her, but in the frontal temporal, lobe. Um, I can't answer that. I'm sorry. I wish I was at that level and a doctor, but good luck. Good luck with your journey. But no, if it is dementia, we are there for you as well. Does anyone else have any other questions? Feel free to unmute as well.
Yeah, feel free to jump in, everyone. Great, amazing. This is like a whirlwind of information. Incredible.
It's important to know, especially that it's there. So
Questions.
thank you, Sue.
So, what was it like? Oh, here's another one. This was okay.
Thanks,
What
Janine.
was it? I mean, must have been really shocking when you found your husband had this condition developing. I mean, how did? I mean, all of us, work with, have our families. I mean, what did that do to your family life? I mean, that must have been really incredible.
Yeah,
I mean,
it,
and
it
here you are. I mean, you're a whirlwind presenter with all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's hard to imagine having to deal with such a thing at such a young age.
I was 49 when my life was altered. It just faith is what keeps me grounded. My church, my faith, for sure. My family, we are all tight. Some of the things with dementia is also, especially with the genetic part, if your sibling, your parents have Alzheimer's, you are at higher risk. Does it mean you'll get it? No. It just means you're at a higher risk. So I know a lot of people, a lot of families, some of them, they're like, I want to learn all I can and jump in like I did. Some of them want to put their head in the sand. And like some of our family members, three of them did not test for years, nor did they let Janine or I and our husbands talk about Huntington's. They didn't want their kids to know about it, even though they had four cousins who'd been diagnosed with it. Head in the sand, don't talk about it. So it took them years to be able to talk about it. Um, Even just in my personal family with three kids, we know Austin has it. The other two kids, we're totally open. We talk about it. It's freeing to be able to talk about it. Um, we can talk about it a lot. There's nothing we can physically do for Huntington's. There's no treatments. There's some medications to help with some symptoms, but there's nothing for Alzheimer's or for Huntington's like there is for Alzheimer's. Um, but there's always this gray cloud, always a gray cloud, and you just can't focus on it. It's this rock. Like, I wish there was this blood phlebotomist. This is the answer. It's a little blood fairy, like a tooth fairy, but he's a little fairy phlebotomist. And he's going to come and take the blood test of my other two children. And when he comes back with negative, they do not have Huntington's, they'll let me know. But don't let me know if they test positive because I don't want to know that I have more kids with it. Because it's just as heavy knowing that I'm going to bury my husband, turn around and watch my kids go through it.
Mhm.
So I just have to me, service is a big thing. And that's, I think, why I love my job is because I know I'm helping others and lifting the pain that they're going through and giving support. But even outside service, joining clubs, joining other groups, staying involved. But serving is a big thing for me as well. But yeah, it does change you. And also, you start checking off your bucket list. We're going to Cancun for Thanksgiving. We never would have done that. But it's like, we've got to enjoy life while we can and that it prioritizes it. It also makes sure we have our trust, we have our special needs map it for asset protections trust lined up. We have everything, our living wills, all of the things that you will get to someday, they're done. We're not beating around the bush anymore. So, which everybody over 18 years old needs to have their powers of attorney, powers of finance, their living will, they need to be done. They need to have them at their doctor's offices so that they know what you want, because you never know when an accident may happen as well. So it prioritizes your life for sure.
There was one question here that says, where can I get more info on this pointer study to help encourage my husband to be more proactive? And,
Sure. I
it
can,
seems like interesting research.
yeah, yeah, bring him to the governor's residence. You can walk through. There'll be more information there. And that starts beginning of December. I don't know what day, but I can send out a link about the study for sure. Because I know, oh, Mike is going to send out a link with a lot of these resources that I shared. So he's going to send out an email to you all. And I forgot to tell you, I have quarterly flyers. This is my quarterly flyer of virtual presentations. Today at 12 o'clock in another hour, I have a virtual program. It's called Holidays You'll Never Forget, Memory, Disease, and Celebration. So it's great if you have a loved one with dementia. It's like, how do we make it successful for everyone? But my December classes, everybody with a brain needs to take my December classes. One of them is called Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body. That's the one you need your husband to come to. All of you need to come to. We're going to go into more depth with 7 of those healthy habits. So that's going to be on December 5th at 11 a.m. And then December 9th, a whole lot of thinking going on, tips, tricks, and trivia about brain power, how to exercise your brain and all of that. Again, everybody with a brain should be taking these 2 classes. You can sign up through our helpline. I also gave them to Mike. He's going to email them to you. You can just click on the flyer to register for them. If you can't come, I record them. So I send out the recording afterwards as well. So, but I have this quarterly flyer. I have our support group quarterly flyer of all of our support groups statewide. I have education of in-person classes throughout the state. It's multiple pages by topic, like 10 warning signs, understanding Alzheimer's, etc. I have a newsletter for those on the journey. This month's or this quarter's newsletter, it's the US Pointer Study. Put it front and top, and other things like women need to take omega-3 to help reduce risk. So a lot more information. If you want these 4 quarterly flyers, email back. Mike is going to send the email him back, and I need your zip code. I need to track outreach so we can get more grants for research. So please email back, or right now you can put your name in the chat with your zip code, your email name and zip code, and I will add you to my personal flyer list. I am working on my January through March flyers right now, and so those will be sent out in December for all the upcoming classes, January through March. So if you'd like those, either respond to the email or you could put it in the chat and even straight to me with your zip code. So those are some really good resources too.
Yeah, I'll send that out as soon as we sign off here, Heidi, so
Perfect.
everyone can get that and
Perfect.
have the link to your noon
Yeah.
presentation. There was one additional
Yeah.
comment here. It says from Eileen. Eileen, do you want to chime in with this or shall I read it? It says, with a friend that's in denial of mild losses, it seems all I can do is wait and try to be compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
That it?
So we have, you can email, why don't you email me back? And I have it's a 10-step approach to talk about memory concerns with a loved one. I also have a 10-step approach to yourself with memory concerns. And so it will walk you through things to be looking for, things to talk about, how you do it. Also, if you go on to my on-demand classes on alz.org/WI, then go into the education and the on demand. I have a class, it's called 10 warning signs. And in the 10 warning signs class, and you could probably just Google 10 warning signs, but it wouldn't be my class. But with the 10 warning signs, the last half of it talks about going through how do I talk to somebody about that? How do I approach it? So we do have forms that you can just kind of fill in the blank and get ready for that conversation. So, yeah, you can be compassionate all day long. Offer to go to the doctors with them too. And it may take multiple conversations. Like the rest of our family, the other siblings, it took years for them. Still, one of them has not taken the blood test of Huntington's, even though they have 4 kids at risk and that are all in their 20s. It's like, oh. So, anyway, yeah, there's resources. And if you have a question you think of later on today, call our helpline and ask your question. That's what they're there for as well.
Any
So
other, before we let Heidi get busy there?
right, and I will copy all your emails and also throw in your zip codes too, please. I've gotten most of them. Wonderful.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Don't be shy. Okay, then. So just a reminder to everyone, I'm going to go through here and clean up the video if there are any things in there. And then I'll post it on our YouTube site Triads of Dane County YouTube. And so it'll be there. And of course, Heidi's got I imagine, a lot of great information in the email that I'm going to be sending. So be looking for that in your inbox here shortly. Okay.
Well, thank you
Right,
again for this invitation. It was a pleasure to meet with you all today. And feel free to reach out with email. You will have my contact information.
will do. Thank you very much, Heidi.
Yes, and there's no
And thank
YouTube channel. Sorry, Janine, there's no YouTube channel. They're all on, if you go to alz.org/WI for Wisconsin. And then on the left side, go down to resources and education. It's right in there, the education, and it says on demand. That's the on demand programs will be there. So alz.org/WI under education.
Okay, terrific. All right, everyone, then we'll see you next month. We'll be
Oh, your
talking with a
YouTube channel.
representative from NAMI at a special time. Stay tuned for more info as we come along with that, okay? Thanks, and we'll see you next month.